Hi guys, so in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at 5 common mistakes that new producers make, and the reason I've highlighted these 5, there may be more, the reason I've highlighted these 5 is because these are 5 of the mistakes that I made when I first started producing. So I'm going to highlight those to you guys now, and hopefully if you are sort of fairly new and you recognise any of these, you'll be able to sort of strain it out from the get-go. So the first thing I will pick up on is EQ, and what the ears can do, tricks that the ears can do. So if you have an EQ and you pull up an EQ when you're trying to sort of get the sound to fit in better, and you boost sort of the 3 main areas, if you boost sort of here, here, and here, all this is actually doing is just making the sound louder. And when we hear something that's louder, we automatically perceive it as better. So if you have sound, or you have a synth, a riff, and you boost it in those 3 areas, it's going to become louder, and you're automatically going to think, yes, that sounds better, but it doesn't sound better. So you need to make sure that when you're boosting, you're also making sure you keep an eye on the volume, so that if you do boost your EQ, you bring the volume back down to the same level, so you can A/B it. And you know, what are you hearing? Are you hearing the sound that's better, or are you just hearing a bit more volume into it? Same with when you're taking away sounds as well. So when you're taking away EQ, so for example, if you have a sound and you take away a lot of the bass, it can sound thinner, and then you straight away, because you're taking away sound, you're thinking, oh, that doesn't sound as good, doesn't sound as powerful. But in the long run, it will fit better in your mix. So remember not to, another thing as well, is not to individually audition every single sound. Although, for example, a lead with this mountain cut off the top may sound a little thin, but when you play that over all your bass and your other instruments and your chords and stuff, it may fit absolutely perfect in. So with regards to EQ, a couple of things that you need to watch out for is boosting. Are you raising the volume, or are you making a sound better? And again, when we're looking at individual sounds, when we're auditioning individual sounds in our track, it may sound bad, but remember to play it as part of the mix to make sure that it fits in the mix properly. Because like I said, if we cut a low end off a sound, it may sound very thin, but then when you play it with the rest of the track, it may fit in absolutely perfectly into your actual track. So EQ is one of the things that a lot of people still struggle with today, and that's one of the basic things of EQ there that you can look out for. Now the second thing I'm going to say is pick the right sounds for your tracks. I've mentioned it before, and I'll keep mentioning it because that's one of the most important things when you're when you're picking your sounds for your tracks. Don't just pick the first sound that comes along and try to make that fit. So don't get the first kick and then EQ it and then compress it and then multiband compress it and then distort it and then limit it and think, you know, you just can't get it to sound right. If you have to do too much work, it's not good. It's not the right kick for your track. Get rid of it and audition more. There's plenty of packs out there that you can grab kicks and just keep auditioning kicks. So ideally, you want, when you're listening for sounds, you want a sound that sort of nearly fits your track, and you want to be saying to yourself, that sounds perfect, it just needs a little bit more. So maybe it needs a little bit of an EQ boost, maybe it's a little bit too bassy, maybe it's a little bit too wishy-washy when you add a little bit of compression to it. Maybe you might need to layer it with maybe another maybe a kick or a clap or something like that, just a little bit. But the actual sound itself should be not far away from what you're actually aiming for. Like I said, you don't want to be over processing every single thing in your actual track. Very, very limited to what you want to do. So that's the second thing I will say. So the third thing I will say as well is chords. So when it comes to chords, I've been sent a lot of tracks recently to review and listen to. One thing that I can hear is chords and scales. Now it's not an easy thing to learn, but you should listen for when it sounds off and look at chords and stuff. So this is not a surefire way. This is not like a way that will, you know, guarantee you'll never play an off note again. But one of the things you can look at is look at the first chord of your track. So let's, for example, we're going to use the C. So if we have this in our track, we know that our track is in major. So this is a major chord, and this is a minor chord. That's the difference there, major and minor. So one of the things we can use in FL Studio to help us, so if we've got a major chord like that there as our first note, really we shouldn't be seeing somewhere down the line a D somewhere down the line, because this is not part of the scale. So we've got that chord there. So what we can actually do is we can actually go up to stamp, and we know we're in major. We've got that chord there is in major, so we can go to scales, and we can choose a major scale, major, and we can print this in. And one of the things we can do is we can just clone this, copy that in there, and I've got ghost track switched on, so we can actually use this as ghost track. So what we can then do is we can then just add this in here, C, and we can then copy it up to like here, and we can drag this along. So we can make this 4 bars. So we know that every note in this in our track really should fall on one of these. You shouldn't be seeing notes like that in the track, because this is the first chord is, now it's not always the first chord, but you know, a lot of the time it can be the first chord. So we're going to take it as the first chord as being the scale of what the track's in. So because the first chord's in C major, we're going to take it as if this track is in C major, the scale. So we've got C major scale in the background. So now when we're making a melody, let's quickly fire a piano in. So now when we're making a melody, all these notes, so when we're making a melody, we can even write these in. So let's say that's the bass note, we can write the melody in now. All sounds in key there. So if we were to then go like that, we'd know straight away. So you can hear that last note's off. So that's one of the things you can do with regards to when you first sort of learning chords and scales and stuff. If you can find out the root chord or the key of the track, you can use the ghost notes in FL Studio to add in ghost notes in the background to make sure that you're not adding notes in that shouldn't really be in the scale. So that's one of the other things there. So that's the third thing there is scales. And then the fourth thing would be obviously down to mixing, but mixing is not a subject that I can pick off straight away. I can't really include it in this video, but I'm going to say mixing is obviously key. Now I've got some different videos where I've talked about mixing and mastering, and I will link them below. One of the things I will hear is certain elements sticking out, drums louder or quieter. So it's all about balancing and getting the right balance into the mixing section. We're not talking about mastering. Mastering is something separate. We're talking about just mixing, making sure that all the elements fit in. And one of the ways that you can help do that, or one of the ways that you can listen out for that, is once you think you finish your track, is mix it down and listen to it on different things. So listen to it on your car stereo, on your Xbox, on your MP3 player, on your phone, using different headphones, and you begin to hear certain things will stick out. And you can write a list of those down and then go back to the mix and say, well, on this system, this was too loud, so I can bring that down. This system, this was too loud, I can bring that down. And that can help you mix properly. But I will leave a link below to one of the videos where I discuss mixing in more detail. And now the fifth and final point that a lot of new producers make is once they finish a track, they're so keen to get the track out there, they just fire it out there even when it's unfinished. Now think about this: if you went to a restaurant and it was nice food, you'd go back, you'd tell your mates, oh yeah, nice food there, yeah, I'll go back there. If you went to a restaurant and the food was absolute rubbish, you'd tell so many people, oh, that was so horrible, I got food poisoning, and you wouldn't go nowhere near there again. So think about that in music. If someone hears one of your songs and it's off key, it's not mixed properly, it's not finished, they're going to go, well, that's a poor track, or that's a poor song. And when it comes to listening to one of your songs in the future, the first thing they're going to think of is, hang on, I know this person, I've heard his music before, it's not too good. And even if your track is better, it's going to be harder for them to sort of bring them back. You've sort of lost them as a fan. So although new producers, it's great to sort of get your music out there and let people listen to it, make sure you're very, very happy with it. Now, one of the rules that I would say is, once you think you've finished your track, leave it 48 hours before you release it. So once your track's finished, leave it 48 hours and go back and listen to it again with fresh ears. So 2 days later, if you still think after 2 days there's nothing more that you can do to that track, then go ahead and release it. But I guarantee you, if you finish your track and then 2 days later you listen to it, there'll be something in there. Even now, when I hear a track that I made 2 weeks ago, I can still think, oh, on a second, maybe I should have done this or maybe I should have done that. So one of the things I would say when releasing tracks is make sure you don't just push it out there because your track's finished. So they're the 5 things that I would sort of see mistakes that new producers make. So again, hope you've taken this on board. Again, I'm not trying to say that I'm the world's greatest producer. These are the 5 mistakes that I've made, and believe me, I've made many, many more, and I'm sure you guys are making mistakes as you go along as well. Mistakes that I've not even thought of, or mistakes that I've not made, or I've probably made a lot more mistakes than you lot. But what I would say is take these mistakes, take these tips on board, and if you do find yourself falling down one of these holes, then obviously you know how I'll give you some tips on how to pull yourself out. But guys, that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching.